so powerful. Right next up to decluttering and trashing therapy. So let's go ahead on into that. And this is something that you may have heard of before, and I think even some of the other hosts have spoken about it as well. It's called Emotional Freedom Technique, or EFT, and it's kind of a descendant of the original technique, which is Thought Field Therapy, or TFT, by Roger Callahan. And there's also a book by Roger Callahan called Tapping the Healer Within, or you can go to emofree.com, that's emofree.com, and you can download a free ebook that teaches you how to use the technique. And of course you can, they have programs for people who love it so much that they want to do it professionally, but you can learn it enough to cure your own phobias and help your friends and family, and just anywhere from a few minutes to a couple hours. I'd say, take a couple hours and read through the book so you have a bit of a background and you understand how it works. Basically, it's just tapping. And you just tap different points on your body. And there's one, here's another one by the... And you basically just tap these acupuncture points. And there's a few other quick little things that you do in the center, and then you go back to tapping the points. And it takes about 2-3 minutes to go through, and I've actually helped people get rid of phobias and major emotional hang-ups and severe stresses and traumas in as little as 2 to 5 minutes. I had one lady who came to me. She wanted help with a phobia of spiders. She had arachnophobia. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. It's ironic because it's named after the very people who would never, ever, ever want to see it. Just thought that's kind of a unique thing among movie titles. But she had bad arachnophobia. It was about an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10 for her. 10 being absolutely paralyzing. You couldn't imagine it being any worse. If your fear confronts you at all, you just melt down into a dysfunctional mess and you can't even think. So very, very bad. The worst phobia you can have is a 10. And 1, or some practitioners use a 0 as nothing. I usually say 1 just because, for no reason. It's just there. But it's just a subjective rating system to get an idea of how bad it is for the person. And she said it was about an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. And so it was very bad. It didn't quite keep her from functioning, but it was very, very severe. And I got her from an 8 down to about a 2 in about 6 minutes. We had to repeat the procedure a couple of times. First time she got down to about a 5, then down to about a 3, and then I think once more she was down to a 2, and so down to where it was barely noticeable at all. So she went from an 8 to a 2 in about 6 minutes, and nothing she had ever done had ever made a dent in it. And I see this very commonly. Usually people will go to years of counseling or talk therapy, and that has its place. But for things like phobias, this technique just works a lot faster and a lot better, in my opinion. And there are a lot of theories about how it works, from energy balancing to collapsing emotional anchors. And I don't think anyone's ever quite pinned down and proven how it works, but there have been a lot of studies, and everyone shows that it works, even though they can't really decide on the mechanism yet. But everyone agrees who has studied it and actually done a study on it seriously that it does in fact work, and it definitely does in my experience. And it's more than just distracting you from the fear, because if you've ever tried to distract someone who's afraid of something, it's very hard to do. They're so locked in on what they're afraid of that you can't get them to think about anything else if it's a severe phobia. So some people will say, well, it just kind of distracted me, the tapping, and I wasn't thinking about it. But when I encounter it again, I'll probably be afraid again. And yet the next time they encounter it, they're not afraid. It's balanced and it's gone. And so it's a very, very powerful technique. You don't really feel that different per se while you're doing it, but the next time you think about or look at or encounter the thing that bothered you, it just doesn't bother you anymore, and it's amazing. And you don't feel, like I said, all that different. You just notice the absence of feeling bad, which is fantastic. And so it's not like a drug where you feel a very powerful effect immediately and it kind of puts you under and you can't experience fear. It's nothing like that. It just balances your system psychologically somehow, and what bothered you before doesn't bother you. People have gotten rid of stress and post-traumatic stress disorder and memories of traumas, and I have one person who was horribly afraid of the water, who had a near drowning experience,